Hello, I'm back and I'm glad that you are arriving to the last week of our course. Last week we were studying about disciples making disciples, and we have learned a lot about how Jesus made his disciples. And at the end of the week we were looking at qualities of the teacher, but this week we will move on and we will look at who to look for. How will we find our disciples? How will we start and go to the end of this process? But first, let me remember you about our example. Do you remember we had a super preacher that was preaching for more than 1,000 people a day. He was resting just 5 days per year, and he has these amazing numbers of 1,000 people accepting Jesus every day. And in the other side of our example, we have the disciple maker, and the disciple maker was discipling one person per year, but he was training this person to be another disciple maker. And in the second year, 2 people doing the discipling, and then 4, and then we are now on the 15th year, and we have the super preacher with more than 5 million people, believers, that accepted Jesus through his ministry. And we have 32,000 at the end of the 15th year, 32,000 disciple makers. Let's see how long will take to this scenario change a little bit. But while we study this example, I want to point you how we will start ourselves this process. The first thing is to look for someone, and on 2 Timothy, Paul has given a good advice to his disciple. He said, "What you have heard from me among many witnesses, give it to a faithful man who are able to teach others." So we need to look for people that will be able to teach others, and we will teach them everything we have learned concerning Jesus Christ. We have been discipled by many people, some in a formal way and others in an informal way, like our parents, like our pastor, some friends. Maybe people came to our lives, they taught us, they helped us to learn a lot, and they left. But we have heard, and as we saw last week, we should be persons who are looking for the acknowledgement of Christ in the Bible in an everyday basis. We are people who read the Bible, who study the Bible, who pray, who look for acknowledgement. We are learning through all our lives. And now that we have this acknowledgement, and of course we doesn't know everything, but we are on the process, we are able to start teaching others, and we need to look for people who are able to teach others. It is not too easy to find this kind of people, but the process of selection starts with praying. We need to pray for people. We need to pray for God to bring us those He wants to be discipled through our lives. So we need to spend time with those who are thinking about, we have a relationship, we are becoming friends, and then we start living close to them, we start talk to them and praying for them, and then maybe they will be the first that we will disciple. Maybe not. Sometimes the first who accept Jesus, they are not those who will be the best future leaders, especially if you are living in a nation or in a place where you can't find lots of believers. Then you need to look for new leaders, and you have this will that local people will start leading others to Jesus, so the process will of the evangelization process of that people group will be done by themselves. That's the idea. But on the starting, you need to find someone. Maybe the first one who will accept Jesus will be the person who will bring you the next person that will be a future leader. Don't be afraid. Start praying, start spending time with people you are thinking of choosing. Remember, God sees potential that may be hidden to us. Here we have this text in 1 Samuel 22 when David started his group of warriors, and it was made by his family and unwanted people with lots of problems. They joined David, and he had 400 men walking with him, and this was his group that started the process that ended when he became the king of Israel. So the idea here is just remember us that God is the one who knows, and He is the one who will bring the disciple to us, because we are not going to disciple people to be our followers. They will be followers of Jesus. So we need Jesus to choose them, but Jesus will use us, and we need to be aware that we need to do things, and this is a process. So we will start discipling as soon as we have a relationship. Maybe it will not be that formal, but the discipling will start, and it is an ongoing process that will take the disciple from the awareness moment where he understood that Jesus is Christ to the point where he will be able to make his own disciples. So the first stage, and we will see 4 stages here, is the show stage. The show stage is when you start the relationship. You start walking alongside someone, and on this stage, the learner, he will have a very high enthusiasm, because he will be excited with all this Christian thing and how Jesus was able to transform his life, forgive his sins, and then he will have this enthusiasm but little experience. He will be confident because he will be a new believer, and new believers are confident. They love Jesus and they believe that they know everything. Of course, they know the minimum that is necessary to become a believer and to be saved, but they don't know the whole content of the Bible and how to live as God has told us to live. So this is a process, and we will start showing them. They will have little knowledge, they will be understanding, learning from us. So we, the teacher, we will do much mentoring, we will do modeling, a lot of modeling. We will also bring some theory. On this moment we will be showing them how to be a Christian and how to live this amazing Christian life. But slowly this showing process will move from showing to train. And on this stage, the problems start to arrive, because the learner, he will have little enthusiasm. He will be aware that he doesn't know a lot. So he will be afraid of doing things by himself. He will have little self-confidence, little knowledge. He will have little experience. Then the hard work will be with the teacher, because the teacher will do much mentoring, will do discussions, sometimes difficult discussions. The disciple will make difficult questions, and if you don't know, don't hesitate. Tell them that you don't know and go to the scriptures and study and bring him answers. Ask for help if you think it's necessary, but don't give up. This training process can take months or years, depending on how intense is the relationship, how interested is the person, how focused you are. It depends a lot, but it's a moment where the teacher needs to be available and needs to be doing things on purpose. Is the training moment. But the training moment will, of course, come to an end, which is good, because it goes to a new stage that it's a little bit easier for the teacher, but it still demands a lot. Because on the collaborate stage, the learner has a growing enthusiasm. He is becoming more confident, still with an unstable self-confidence, but with more confidence. And then he will grow in experience, he will grow in knowledge, he will start trying to do things by himself. So the teacher will do less mentoring, but lots of conversations. Lots of time spending over a table and a cup of coffee, talking, discussing, helping the person do his first steps, maybe inviting him to try to lead a Bible study on his house or with friends, maybe start preaching, teaching, or doing church programs if where you are you can find a church with programs, but if not, you can do it at home, like a Bible study or running an alpha course or things like that. The person will do it by himself, but you will be behind the scenes, helping, teaching, and giving energy to this person, and also praying a lot for this person, being available, of course, for everything the person demands on you, but you will see that this will be a little bit less demanding than the train stage. But from the collaborate stage, the discipling process will go to the last stage, which is the delegate stage. The delegate stage is when the person is living by himself, the learner. He is now, or she is now living by herself, and she will be, or he will be, a very enthusiastic person. This person will have much experience. This person will have a high self-confidence and much knowledge. Remember, the training process took years. The collaborate also maybe 1, 2, or 3 years, and now this person has been delegated by you to make his own disciples. And you, the teacher, will do, of course, some mentoring, some modeling, but not as when you were in the first stage. In the show stage, for example, someone needs to go to the supermarket, to go to the grocery store, and to go and buy a new car, to show the person how we Christians deal with real life situations, how we buy things, how we interact with government policy, whatever. So in the show process, you will be modeling through your life, so you will be walking a lot together. In the training process, you will be not only showing but also teaching, explaining. In the collaborate, you will be enjoying time together, and this disciple will be doing things and will be glad that you will be with him. But in the delegate stage, the last one, the person will live by itself, and you will receive phone calls or text messages just from time to time, just to see or to hear what is going on. And it's amazing to see that after this process, even if you were not working together anymore, or not even living in the same city or in the same country, you will have a friendship that will last for years and years and years. And this friendship is amazing because it will gives you the joy to see how the new disciple, your disciple, will be doing new disciples. And maybe you will be also helping in different way. But this stage, this is not a program. This is what happens in a very normal way, in a very normal life. And it is not that simple. I mean, when I explain it, it looks like, oh, you go from show, train, collaborate, delegate, and that's it. But it takes years, and it is not planned, it's natural. These stages are, the person is moving from one stage to another in a very organic way, in a very simple way. It's a ongoing process, but it has a price for both of you. And this is important because nobody builds a tower without counting the cost, without preparing. You will have hard time. Sometimes you will fight, sometimes you will believe that this person will give up, but God has told us to do disciples, and He will be with us. Remember that. He will be with us, and He is the one interested on our life and on the life of our disciple. So it will have a price, and as Jesus said in Luke 14:28, in the same way, any of you who does not give up everything he has cannot be my disciple. So we are not training people to be our disciples, we are training people to be Jesus' disciples, and they will need to give up of everything to be Jesus' disciple, as we have done or we are doing every day. But the end is amazing, because as God is the one who is doing things, we will have the joy of seeing the end result in the other people, in the other person's life. Because God will, the same God who started, He will end the process on that life. And we will be only those who are used by God that will have the joy of seeing the transformation being done on that life. But let's get back to our super preacher, and we are now in this amazing moment of the year 23. After 23 years, our super preacher and our disciple maker, they will have reached the same amount of people, but the super preacher will still be preaching hard, and we will still have 1,000 people every year. So on that 23rd year, he will have 8 million people following Jesus through his work. And the disciple maker, he will also have around 8 million people. But the next year, things will change. And if we move forward 10 years, we will see that after 33 years, the super preacher will have 11 million people on his group of believers that got to know Jesus through his ministry and accepted him and changed their lives. But the disciple maker will have the joy to see more than 8 billion people being discipled every year. 8 billion people. Wow, isn't it amazing? It is almost the population of the world. Of course, the population of the world is growing every day. I myself, I have done 4 kids. Maybe you have done some, and they are growing every day. But when you have 8 billion people ready to disciple 8 billion people, in 35 years we will have almost twice the population of the world knowing Jesus. Isn't it amazing? Just mathematics, but if we do it in a very enthusiastic and with focus and with perseverance, and if we do it with passion and love, God will help us, because this is His work. This is what He has told us. Go and make disciples from every people group in the whole earth. So this is His job. and He invited us to do it. And at the end, we will see, everybody will have heard about Him. And now I want to end this week just pointing out that we can see our disciple becoming a mature people in spiritual terms, as the founder of the Navigators, Dawson Trotman, said once a long time ago. He said, a person is mature psychologically when he or she can reproduce physically. So we became adults and we start having kids. So it is when we are mature physically. We can't have kids when we are kids, when we are too young. But a person is mature spiritually when he or she can reproduce spiritually. And the reproduction process, a spiritual process, is the disciple making disciples. So to show you everything I have told you today in a real life, in a real example, I recorded a video interviewing 2 people, and I want you to go through this video and to watch this interview. One of these is the disciple maker. He is a Brazilian guy who went to India more than 15 years ago to start a business. So when he was starting the business, he started discipling one local person. And they started working together, and they have worked for a long time, and they have lived all these 4 states. Now this friend of mine is living in the UK, and his disciple is living in the US. Life has changed, but they are still good friends, and we can see both of them are leading mission organizations where they are, and they are still discipling others and making new disciples. So I want to invite you to go and watch this interview and see how was this process I've showed you in a real life. So I hope you have enjoyed this journey on disciple making disciples, and I hope that you will have the confidence to start doing it yourself. God bless you all.